My sister stole my fiancé. My parents said, you need to forgive. So at their wedding I had a special toast prepared, and the wedding fell apart. I never imagined my life would come to this moment. Standing in front of my mirror, my fingers dug into the edges of my champagne glass, leaving crescent-shaped imprints on my skin. My reflection stared back at me, a woman who looked composed, almost elegant in her sleek burgundy dress. But beneath the surface, I was shaking. Today was supposed to be my wedding day. Instead, I was getting ready for a wedding where I wasn't the bride. My sister was, with my fiancé. And my parents? They expected me to stand there, smiling, as if this was normal. As if it wasn't the ultimate humiliation. As if it wasn't a betrayal so deep it had hollowed me out from the inside. You'll regret it if you don't go, my mother had said just days ago, her voice calm, reasonable, as though she wasn't asking me to endure the most excruciating moment of my life. My father, never one for long conversations, had merely sighed and said, family is family, Lena. You need to rise above this. Rise above? They wanted me to give a toast? Fine, I would. But it wouldn't be the one they expected. 3 months earlier. I should have known something was wrong. It had started subtly, small things I could have ignored if I hadn't been so blind. Emily was always around. Always so interested in my relationship with Daniel. You're so lucky, Lena, she'd say with that sweet smile of hers. Daniel is amazing. She asked too many questions about our future. When were we getting married? Where were we planning to live? Had we picked out a honeymoon destination? At the time, I thought she was just being a good sister. Now, I knew better. The first real warning sign came 6 months before the wedding. It was a Sunday afternoon, and Daniel and I had just finished looking at apartments. We were curled up on the couch, talking about our future, when his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and immediately got up. I need to take this, he said, walking to the other room. I didn't think much of it, until later that night, when I saw his phone lighting up again. Emily, thank you for today. I don't know what I'd do without you. A strange feeling settled in my stomach. Why is Emily texting you? I asked, trying to sound casual. Daniel barely looked up. Oh, she just needed help with something. No big deal. I let it go. Because why wouldn't I? She was my sister. But the texts didn't stop. Oh, Daniel, my car won't start. Oh, Daniel, can you help me move some furniture? Oh, Daniel, I just really need someone to talk to. Again, and again, and again. And the worst part? Daniel always said yes. I should have confronted him. I should have set boundaries. But I was too busy planning our wedding, too busy choosing flowers, invitations, the perfect dress. Too busy trusting them both. And then, 1 week before my wedding, I walked into Daniel's apartment unannounced. I had wanted to surprise him with breakfast, a small gesture to remind him how excited I was to spend forever with him. Instead, I found her in his bed. With him. Emily didn't even look guilty. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, she said, pulling the sheets around her like she had every right to be there. Daniel sat on the edge of the bed, running a hand through his hair, looking like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. Lena, I didn't let him finish. I turned and walked out. I don't even remember getting into my car. All I remember is the sheer numbness. This was a nightmare. And the worst part? My own parents didn't even take my side. I barely made it through the next few days. I didn't eat. Didn't sleep. The world felt unreal, like I was watching someone else's life unravel. Then my mother called. Lena, I know you're hurting, she said in that careful, measured tone of hers. But you have to understand, Emily and Daniel didn't plan for this to happen. They just fell in love. I gripped my phone so tightly I thought it might crack. You're joking, I whispered. I know it's hard to accept, sweetheart, but... I hung up. The next call came from my father. This doesn't change the fact that Emily is your sister, he said. Family is family, Lena. You need to rise above this. I wanted to scream. Instead, I took a deep breath. And then I laughed. Because of course, they would take her side. Emily had always been their favorite. The golden child. The one who could do no wrong. It had been that way our whole lives. When we were kids, if Emily broke something, I got blamed. If Emily wanted a new dress, I got her hand-me-downs. If Emily cried, I was the one scolded for making her upset. And now? She had stolen my fiancé. And my parents expected me to be the one to rise above it. I could have cut them all off. I could have disappeared, started over somewhere far away. But no, that would be too easy. They wanted me to come to the wedding? Fine. They wanted me to give a toast? I would. But it wouldn't be the one they were expecting. Emily was always the favorite. Even as kids, she had this ability to make people adore her. Our parents, teachers, family, friends, she wrapped them around her little finger with her golden girl smile and honeyed words. I, on the other hand, was the quiet one. The responsible one. The one who had to work twice as hard just to get half the recognition. When we were little, if Emily broke something, I got blamed. If Emily wanted my toys, I had to share. If Emily wanted my clothes, I had to give them up. Mom's favorite phrase? Come on, Lena, be a good sister. Let Emily have it. So I learned early on, Emily takes. And I give. That's how it had always been. And I thought I had come to terms with it. Until she took the one thing that was truly mine. I met Daniel in college. I was working late at the library when he sat down across from me, flashing a lopsided grin. Studying this hard? You're making the rest of us look bad. I rolled my eyes, but I couldn't help smiling. He was charming in a way that felt real, not overconfident, not forced. Just effortless. We started talking, then studying together, then dating. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't standing in someone else's shadow. Daniel loved me. Not because I was flashy. Not because I was perfect. But because of who I was. And for 5 years, I believed in us. I believed we had something real. I believed he would never betray me. I was wrong. It started small. Emily would casually bring Daniel coffee when she came over. She would laugh too hard at his jokes. She would always find excuses to text him. Oh, Daniel, my car won't start. Oh, Daniel, can you help me fix my Wi-Fi? Oh, Daniel, you're so good at these things. At first, I brushed it off. Emily was flirty with everyone. It was just how she was. But then I started noticing things. Like how Daniel's phone would buzz late at night, and he'd silence it quickly. Like how Emily suddenly seemed so invested in our wedding planning. Lena, what kind of flowers are you picking? You know, Daniel really likes lilies. Lena, are you sure you want that venue? Daniel mentioned he prefers something more modern. Lena, do you think Daniel is really the one? That last question should have been my warning. But I was too blind to see it. Too trusting. Too naive. 1 week before the wedding. I had spent the entire morning picking out gifts for my bridesmaids. I was exhausted but excited. I couldn't wait to surprise Daniel with breakfast the next day. I woke up early, grabbed his favorite coffee and pastries, and headed to his apartment. I still remember every second of what happened next. I opened the door. The apartment smelled like perfume. Not mine. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. And then I heard it. A soft giggle. Emily's voice. My stomach turned to ice. I walked forward, my heartbeat hammering in my ears. And then I saw them. Emily. Daniel. In bed. Emily didn't even flinch. She just smirked. Oh! I guess you weren't supposed to find out this way. Daniel sat up, his face pale. Lena, I turned and walked out. Because what else was there to say? I spent the next few days in a daze. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt nothing. Until my mother called. Lena, sweetheart, you have to understand. I gripped my phone so tightly my knuckles went white. Understand what? Emily and Daniel didn't plan for this to happen. These things just happen. My blood turned to fire. Are you seriously defending them? Honey, they're in love. I almost dropped the phone. I don't care, I hissed. She's my sister. He was my fiancé. This isn't some fairy tale romance. This is betrayal. A sigh. Lena, don't be dramatic. You're not the first woman to lose a man. I nearly laughed. Lose a man? like he was some misplaced object instead of a two-faced liar who had broken my heart. Then my father got on the phone. Lena, this doesn't change the fact that Emily is your sister. Family is family. You need to rise above this. Rise above this. Rise above the fact that my sister was marrying my fiancé. And then, the final betrayal. You are coming to the wedding, right? I hung up. But that wasn't the end. Because the invitations arrived. Because my parents begged me to attend. Because my mother actually said the words. Lena, it would mean so much if you gave a toast. And that was when I decided. I would go. I would give them a toast. And they would never forget it. I wasn't going to sit back and let them get away with this. I wasn't going to cry into my pillow while they paraded around, acting like they were the victims of some tragic love story. No. They wanted a wedding? They would have their wedding. But it would be on my terms. I was done being the girl who got trampled over. It was time to remind them that I wasn't someone they could use and throw away. It was time to destroy them. The first thing I did was lock down my finances. I logged into my banking app, scanning my accounts. My parents had access to a shared savings account that I had thought was just for family emergencies. That was my first mistake. I opened the transaction history and my blood boiled. $3,000 withdrawn last month for household expenses. A lie. $2,000 gone the month before. Probably another unexpected bill. $6,000 pulled out just 2 weeks ago. Coincidentally, around the time Emily was finalizing her wedding venue. My stomach twisted in rage. They had been stealing from me. I had been so wrapped up in wedding planning that I hadn't noticed. I clicked into my settings, removed their access, closed the account, transferred everything into a private fund. Then I went a step further. I pulled up my credit report and nearly screamed. A loan application for $25,000 in my name. Filed 2 weeks ago. Signed by my father. I gripped my phone so tightly I thought it would crack. They had tried to take out a loan using my name. My own parents had been trying to put me in debt to pay for Emily's wedding. I felt physically sick. I called the bank immediately. Hi, I need to place a fraud alert on my account. Someone tried to take out a loan in my name without my consent. The woman on the other end was extremely helpful. Within minutes. Loan application flagged as fraudulent. Any future attempts would be denied. My parents' names reported to the bank's security team. They thought they could use me? Not anymore. Emily had always been careful with her lies. But she wasn't careful enough. I knew that ruining her wedding wasn't enough. I needed to ruin her reputation. And for that, I needed evidence. I called in a favor from an old friend, someone who knew how to dig. Within a week, she sent me a folder full of gold. Emily's biggest secrets. She was drowning in debt. She had maxed out 3 credit cards trying to pay for her extravagant wedding, assuming that Daniel would cover the bills after they got married. She had been sleeping with another man while cheating with Daniel. During her relationship with Daniel, she had been seeing another guy, a married one. She had lied to everyone about me. She told our extended family and mutual friends that I had left Daniel, that I had gotten cold feet, that she and Daniel had gotten together after I had moved on. She had rewritten the entire narrative. I sat back, staring at my phone, feeling the slow burn of victory settle in my chest. She thought she had won. She had no idea what was coming. I needed to make sure the wedding happened exactly as planned, because if it got canceled before I was ready, I wouldn't get my moment. So I played my part. I replied to my mother's texts. Of course I'll come, Mom. You're right, family is family. I just needed time to process everything. I could practically hear her smug smile through the phone. I knew you'd do the right thing, sweetheart. Right thing? Oh, Mom. You have no idea what's coming. The moment I decided to go to the wedding, I knew I wouldn't just be a guest. I would be the storm. For weeks, I played the perfect sister. I let my mother fuss over seating arrangements, pretended to listen as my father droned on about family unity, and even nodded along when Emily gushed about the honeymoon. They thought I had moved on. They thought I had forgiven them. But behind my polite smiles, I was preparing for the ultimate reckoning. My parents had always treated me like their personal bank account, but that was over. First, I locked down every account they had access to. I transferred all my money to a private fund they couldn't touch, closed the shared family account, and put fraud alerts on all my credit lines. Then, I called my lawyer. See, while my parents had tried to take out a loan in my name, Emily had been reckless with her own finances. Her wedding was a financial disaster waiting to happen: expensive venues, designer dresses, an over-the-top honeymoon. And she had bet on one thing: that Daniel, her soon-to-be husband, would cover the debt. She never expected me to find out the truth, because Daniel wasn't as rich as she thought. Sure, he made a decent salary, but his savings? Almost gone. He had taken out a loan to buy my engagement ring. His credit card debt was climbing. And now, thanks to some digging, I knew the worst part. Emily had lied to the wedding venue about having the full payment ready. She had planned to pay them after the wedding, using Daniel's supposed new joint account. But with me cutting my family off financially, that wasn't happening. So I made a little phone call. Hi, I'm calling regarding the upcoming wedding of Emily and Daniel. I just wanted to confirm, has the final payment been made? A pause. No, I gasped. Oh dear. Well, I thought I should let you know, Emily doesn't have the money. And Daniel? He has no idea she expects him to pay for everything. The coordinator went silent. Then, in a clipped voice, she said, I appreciate the heads up. We'll be confirming payment immediately. If Emily didn't pay up fast, she wouldn't have a wedding venue at all. Destroying their finances was one thing, but I needed to make sure everyone knew the truth. And for that, I needed proof. It didn't take much. A few calls, some well-placed questions, and suddenly I had all the receipts. Emily had been cheating on Daniel with a married man. She had been trash-talking Daniel behind his back. She had lied to our family, telling them I had left Daniel before she swooped in. But the real cherry on top? A voicemail from Emily herself. One night, after one too many drinks, she had called a mutual friend and confessed everything: how she had never loved Daniel, how she just wanted someone to pay for her dream life, how she was only marrying him because he's the best I can get. And I had the whole thing saved. By the time the wedding day arrived, everything was set in motion. Emily was stressed. She had managed to scrape together enough money for the venue at the last minute, but she had no idea what was coming next. Daniel looked nervous. Good. And my parents? Still convinced that I was the perfect, supportive sister. I arrived at the venue, dressed in a sleek, blood-red gown, the exact color Emily had told me not to wear because it would steal attention. The ceremony itself was painfully dull. But the reception? That was where the fun began. And as I sat there, champagne in hand, waiting for my turn to speak, I smiled, because they had no idea what was coming. The ballroom was breathtaking: high ceilings, glittering chandeliers, and tables covered in ivory silk. Too bad it was about to become a battlefield. I sat at the head table, watching Emily bask in the attention. She was glowing, her diamond-studded dress sparkling under the lights as she laughed with guests. She had done it. She had won. Or so she thought. Daniel sat stiffly beside her, smiling too much, his eyes darting toward me more times than he probably realized. And my parents? They looked smug, as if this was proof they had been right all along. As if I had simply been dramatic and everything had worked out for the best. I let them have their moment. Then the wedding coordinator tapped the microphone. And now, a special toast from the bride's sister, Lena. I stood, slowly, champagne glass in hand, letting the anticipation settle over the room. Emily beamed at me. Daniel looked uncomfortable. My mother gave me an approving nod, as if to say, see, you did the right thing by coming. I smiled sweetly. First of all, I began, I just want to say how honored I am to be here today. A few guests clapped. I mean it, I continued, tilting my head toward Emily. My sister has always been an inspiration to me. Since we were kids, she had this amazing ability to take whatever she wanted, my clothes, my toys, and, well, I let the words hang in the air. A few uneasy chuckles rippled through the crowd. Emily's smile tightened. I turned to Daniel. And Daniel, well, I have to say, it's so impressive how quickly you two fell in love. Some might call it fate. More nervous laughter. Daniel shifted in his chair. But I won't bore you with the details of how these two found each other, I continued, reaching into my bag. Instead, I'd like to let Emily tell you herself. I pulled out my phone, pressed play, and suddenly Emily's drunken voice filled the ballroom. Emily, ugh, Daniel is such an fool. He thinks I actually love him? Please. I just want a man who can pay for my life. The room fell silent. Emily, I mean, he's nice enough, but let's be real, I had better options. This is just the best I can do for now. A gasp. A real gasp. Emily shot up from her chair. Lena, turn that off. But I wasn't done. Daniel, Lena was better than you, and you know it. More silence. Then chaos. Daniel's face turned ghost white. Emily lunged for my phone, but I stepped back. What is this? Daniel stammered. Emily turned to him, her expression twisted in panic. Baby, I can explain. Explain? He stood up so fast his chair clattered to the floor. You were seeing other guys? I paid for this wedding and you. You what? Emily shrieked. Lena, you snake. You ruined everything. Oh, sweetie, I said, sipping my champagne. I just told the truth. You ruined it yourself. My parents stared in horror. Guests were whispering. Phones were out, recording everything. Daniel looked around the room, realization sinking in. Wait, he said, his voice shaky. You told me her family helped pay for this wedding. Oh, this was even better than I expected. I leaned in. She lied. Daniel turned to Emily. So, who actually paid for all this? Emily's lips parted, but she had no words. Then, the wedding coordinator approached the table, looking grim. Excuse me, but we just received word from the venue manager, your final payment bounced. Silence. You mean? Daniel swallowed. We don't actually own this wedding. The coordinator sighed. We need a payment by tonight, or we'll have to shut everything down. I almost felt bad. Almost. Emily let out a scream of rage. You conniving, jealous little. All right, I interrupted, placing my glass down. Let's not ruin a perfectly good evening. Let's toast. I raised my glass. To Emily and Daniel, may their marriage be as faithful as the way it began. And then I took a sip. Behind me, Emily was screaming my name. Daniel looked ready to vomit. Guests were fleeing. And me? I walked out of the ballroom, head held high. Because I had won. Aftermath, the fallout. Emily and Daniel never signed the marriage certificate. Daniel demanded every penny back, leaving Emily drowning in debt. Emily's reputation was destroyed, friends abandoned her, and word spread fast. My parents called, furious. I blocked them. As for me, I packed my bags, moved to Paris, and never looked back. But months later, I got one last message. A text from Daniel. I should have chosen you. I laughed and deleted it. Because for the first time in my life, I had truly won.